All right, now let's have a look at question 1M. And they say to you, convert 182 horsepower to BTU per hour. When you see something like this, remember that BTU stands for British Thermal Units per hour, and then you've got horsepower. Now, the normal approach here, based on how we've been solving the previous examples, is I would tell you, all right, go ahead, break down horsepower into its base units, and then convert those base units into BTU per hour. But here's the trick. If you go to your datasheet, you don't have information on the base units for horsepower. So my recommendation is going to be, turn that horsepower into something you understand. Bring it back to the metric system where you have an appreciation for how the numbers and the units work. And from there, let's move it into BTUs per hour. All right. So let's start off doing that. So I've got 182 horsepower. And if I go to my data sheet, the only thing I have is to help me is the horsepower to kilowatt value. And it says to me that 1 horsepower is 0.7457 kilowatts. And then, like I said, I don't really like kilowatts, so I'm going to convert that unit out. I'm going to write down kilowatt, and I'm going to write down watt. I just personally can't deal with these prefixes. So I know that 1 kilowatt is the same thing as 1,000 watts. I put that into my calculator, and I end up with 135,717,4 watts. So you can just check with me if the units cancel. Horsepower cancels with horsepower, kilowatt cancels with kilowatt, and the only unit I'm left with is watts. Now, you can go back to a previous example that we did where we broke down the units for watts. But by now, it should be second nature to you. You really, or not by now, but at some point it will become second nature to you that a watt is broken down into joules per second. So if I tell you you have a 100-watt appliance, you must tell me it is consuming 100 joules for every 1 second that it is on. All right. So once you know that, that is the same as saying 135,717,4 joules per second. And now that you've got joules per second, I can convert joules per second into BTU per hour. That's not so bad. So let's go ahead and do that. So if I go to my data sheet and I look for joules, I know that I can get joules at the bottom to cancel, and I can get BTUs at the top. So remember that on the data sheet, 1 BTU, and I'm also checking my data sheet, is 1055 joules. All right, so joules cancels with joules, and I'm left with BTU. I want to get rid of seconds over here. So I'm going to write down seconds at the top to cancel with seconds at the bottom, and I want hours at the bottom. So I know that 1 hour is the same thing as 3,600 seconds. And so I can take my red pen, cancel out my seconds, and the only units I'm left with is BTUs per hour. You can put that into your calculator, and you should end up with 463,111,51 BTUs per hour. I'm just going to check if we've answered the question. We've converted horsepowers to BTUs per hour. That is the final answer. I hope this helped you. Let's move on to the next question.